Guys, so this is going to be the start of, I guess, a cooking series, you might call it. As I talk to a lot of people, just in daily life, they ask me how I eat chicken all the time because chicken is nasty, it's dry, all these things. When I just look at them like crazy, like, my chicken's not dry or anything. My chicken's delicious. And I finally come to the conclusion that it might be the way they're cooking their chicken. So I'm going to take you guys through the steps that I cook chicken. I cook chicken two different ways. One is I roast it in an oven, so I'll have that video later. This one is how I cook chicken breasts alone. So the biggest issue I feel that a lot of people encounter with chicken breasts, that they buy them too thick and then they try to cook them and they have to cook them so long that they end up drying out before the center gets cooked. And so we want to cook chicken all the way because we don't want to get sick, but we don't want to overcook it as well. So here's what I do. If you're looking for any professional type movies, this isn't going to be it. This is just showing you guys the basics of how I cook chicken. So I've turned on my stove, as you can see in the back, and then I have all my chicken on a cutting board. And so I'm looking through it to see how thick they are. So this one looks about good. This one is a little thick. So this is the key. We want to butterfly it. But we don't need to butterfly the whole thing because it's not the same thickness. We want to make it all the same thickness. So you can see here that right here it starts getting pretty thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it down and take my knife and go straight through it. Not all the way through, it's butterflying it. So now the chicken is the same thickness throughout. So that means it's going to be done at the same time. So when I take it off, half of it's not going to be super dry and the other half is barely cooked or not even cooked. So we want to go through, make sure each of your chicken breasts are the same thickness throughout. And then once we do that, once again, since I'm impatient, I'm going to move them over to the skillet without anything on them, and then I'm going to season them on there. So come over, put about 2 or 3. You don't want to put too many. You don't want to overcrowd the pan. I've got my salt right here. Salt them up. Throw some pepper on. I'm going to flip them over, do the same thing. You just put whatever you want on them. Now, this is a big key. So, got a lid here. If I put the lid straight on, it would trap all the moisture in the pan, and the chicken breasts wouldn't get crispy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pan and I'm going to slide it off the side. So it's mostly on there, so we're keeping a lot of heat in so the chicken will cook faster, but I'm also letting the air escape so it will get crispy. And so let that cook for a little bit. We'll come back in a second. I'll show you what it looks like when it's coming out. And we're back. As you can see, smoke is coming out from under the lid, but it's still cooking. Also, I forgot to mention, I keep the temperature about medium, and I don't usually keep a time on it because they're all going to cook differently, but I think it's been about 5 minutes. I more go by smell. So take the lid off, and then we'll flip these babies. Pow, golden brown, nice. Then lid back on. Not all the way on again, so we have the steam escaping. Chicken is cooking. We'll be back in a second. And we're back. So stuff is starting to get pretty good, starting to smell pretty good. Take the lid off. Then we got what's called the touch test. So, and that's what I use first to see if it's done. Touch it. And what we're going for here is you can use your thumb and your forefinger. So put your forefinger and your thumb together and you can push right here. You feel that? That's not quite done for this. And then we can go to the next finger and you can feel that. That's still a little soft for me. And then one more. That's about how firm I like it. Between this one, this firmness, and this firmness. So we feel that. Feels about there. But then just to make sure, got my handy dandy thermometer. So I'm going to turn it on, pick it up, and I'm going to go through the thickest portion. And I'm going for 160 here. So 150, it's still going up pretty high. So that's done. And then I always pick the thickest one first. So I know that if the thickest one is done, the other ones are probably done. I just make an assumption there. But as you can see, nice and golden brown on each side. Take those off. And we'll repeat it with the next set. So I guess that concludes how I cook chicken breast. One of the 2 ways I cook chicken. This option is quicker. I just got done working out. I had to come home. I needed some chicken. I didn't have 3 hours. So throw some chicken breast on the stove. It's done in about 10-15 minutes. But the caveat is that you don't get as much chicken. You know, if I roasted a chicken, or as you'll see, 3 chickens at once, I get a lot of work done in a relatively short amount of time and a little amount of work. Once you put them in the oven, they're just going. This requires a little more work. Can't make as much. And so you would have to be doing this every day, every 2 days, something like that. But just to recap, what we look for is when we get our chicken, wherever we get it, we want to make sure it's the same thickness throughout. So you might have to butterfly some of them. You might not have to butterfly other ones. Then put it on the pan, medium heat, put the lid on, but not all the way on, kind of hanging off. Then flip it halfway through, obviously. Then you can use the touch test. Remember, we're going for that thumb and forefinger firmness right there. And then a meat thermometer just to be safe. Looking for 160. Definitely not 180. That's going to give us really good, moist chicken breast, not dried out, very delicious. And hope you guys like that one.